Hi, and welcome to a new plugin guru video. My name is John Skippy Limcool. Yes, my hair is colored. I have a teenage daughter. She's trying things out on me, and it's fun. I don't mind. It's the first time I've ever dyed my hair, so I'm enjoying it. Anyway, thank you for joining. We have a new library to show you that I am really excited about. This is OmniPulse 2. It's called PERSPEKTIV. And it's basically about it's about synthesis, because synthesis is all about taking waveforms and sound sources and using them and introducing them in different ways, different perspectives. So there's a lot of different perspectives found in this library. So I want to show you, this library comes with some photographs that I have taken with my drone that kind of like really started my ideas churning on this whole perspective thing. So there's 8 photos that come as wallpaper for both HD and for 4K video, depending on your monitor resolution. So there's 8 different perspectives. This is a wildflower field in Oregon, but from this perspective, it's a whole different thing. This is a golf course, but from down below, looking straight down, you wouldn't. It's like some really cool. I love that shot. This is a mall. Waves to the beach. A really cool bridge in Northern California. That's me right there looking up. To this. Those are sea lions on the Oregon coast. And you can't see them from the beach. But when you get closer to them and above and look down, it becomes this really cool thing. So perspective. Kind of a knife. You know, I got to have ideas for these. The other thing, check this out. This is OmniPulse 2. There's OmniPulse 1, which is one of my best-selling libraries ever. Came out in December of 2013. When I look like this, that's at my recording studio that I had at the other house where my ex-wife lives. My daughter is sleeping there now. It's in the basement. Here in Portland, we're having a heat wave, and so it's cool in the basement. A lot has changed in 3 years. Omnisphere has changed, too. When this came out, when this library came out, it was Omnisphere version 1. And one of the big features to Omnisphere 2 was the introduction of steps that could be transposed per step in the Arpeggiator. And so this library, I decided to really investigate that. To be honest, I'm not a big fan of like audio loop libraries that are just loops of guitars and different things that you would use to make a song. You're using somebody else's performances to make a song, and they're limited use. You can't if you want to go from a minor key to a major key, it's a big struggle for the most part. But Omnisphere has some abilities to it. I'm going to do some follow-up videos. I'm not going to get into it now, or else this will be a really long video, and I want to make this really short because it's late, and I want to just get to the point and show you what I've got going on. The concept to this is basically to use Omnisphere. Well, here, let's do this. I'll do it as a comparison. So here's version 1. Cool stuff. But you got to play notes. There's very little, even the guitars. There's some really cool stuff in this library. People love this. I've been really happy. So if you take this kind of a concept and then you take it much farther, because we now have riffs. This is one note. And it's playing 5 patches. The other thing that's fun about this is I built there's 87 patches, 13 multis. I'm going to show you the multis, and we're going to pull apart the patches that are inside each one of these. I'll show you a little bit in the patch mode at the end. But I have my Beatstrap Pro hooked up so I can push buttons to mute things. That's one part. One note. You can see right here, I'm playing one note. There's the bass. So these guys can be used separately. This and 4 together work really cool. Okay, so these elements, they were made for each other, but you can use just this by itself. It could be used in a song. That's all you need. And then build around this and do other things. Okay, so there's that multi. I'm just gonna go down the list. Here's Busy Mr. Bixby. My daughter and I used to raise. We had 2 pet guinea pigs. One was named Bixby, and so this is dedicated to him. Can you just see a happy guinea pig? And with drums, it's fun. Right? So here's just pull the parts out. So those guys without the bass. Then we got the disco bass. Now, and some sounds go away and do things and are hiding at the beginning. I've gone through the patch versions of all of these and fixed them so they don't do as much as drastically as they do in the multis. So there's a couple of cases where there's a sound totally hidden until you bring up the mod wheel. I changed it for the patch version so it doesn't, it's not, otherwise you call it up and it's no sound and you think your software's broken or something like that. Counting tentacles. This is based on Osric tentacles. I had one of my customers, it's like, oh, I love Osric tentacles. You gotta do something like that. So, and what's fun with this is a different offbeat's gonna come up with the mod wheel. So the other thing I really focused on for this library, you will notice, is it's really focused on waveforms. I've been doing so much with samples. There's percussa, with percussion, doing all sorts of cinematic stuff. There's the Del Norte with all of the Virus TI samples, the guitars. I mean, we're doing lots of sampled stuff. So I was like, you know, I'm going old school. I'm going way back, just waveforms. I pushed myself. I learned some incredibly cool new tricks that I'll be showing in some future videos for this. How to get snappy, analog-esque envelopes out of Omnisphere. There's a couple of the attack things from Del Norte are in this library so that you, in fact, you're going to hear one right now in this. Slow down. This has some fun stuff going on. So I went a little bit more modern for, this has actually an LFO preset from Del Norte is applied to an effect. I think, where are you? Yeah. I used the volume of the chorus echo to do because there's a volume, believe it or not, on the second page that's a master volume. And you can use that to show modulation. There it is. And this bass sounds cool because it starts really bright and then there's an envelope following while it's also got LFO and a mod envelope pulsing and all sorts of stuff. But that feel is totally different. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. And then you put that over the top of the 4/4. Really fun. So here's our ET moment. And this, I'll show you, this is the Del Norte, the magic of the Del Norte samples. This cowbell with reverb. Here's it just by itself. But if you take that out, if it's just a waveform by itself, put this cowbell with reverb on, and oh my gosh, that's a really cool, unique attack, and it really sticks out in the mix nicely. Right? So that's where Del Norte is such a critical library everyone should own, because there's over 130 percussion samples that you can put onto anything to give you cool attacks like that. So let's see, what else is here in the mix? There's a drum. And then there's a chord thing. And let me mention real quickly these chord things. A lot of the chord things are made by Kid Anthem. He did a library and released it on another website, which is totally cool. You're welcome to do that. I don't have contracts with my guys. They're not exclusive. And then I talked to him and asked if I could buy some of these sounds to use like in a collaboration. I would modify them and add extra things to them for this library. And he was down with that. So I have bought the patches that I have in here from him. And I have collaborated and added more things to them. So that if you do buy the Kid Anthem library, it's called Omni Drone. It's really nice. But these are different. They might have reminiscent DNA to some patches over there, but they're different names for the most part. I kept him with giving credit and stuff like that on the patches. But yeah, so. They're really cool. And the mod wheel on this just goes really insane. Okay, so there's that one. I have questions. Speed it up a little bit, like 125. I'm going to do a follow-up video also, because if you're playing in a certain key, you might need to modify these. Most of these I purposefully didn't get super tricky. I'm using the Arpeggiator for most of these so that you can go in and change them. And I'm going to talk to you later on in another video about what to look for here for major, minor, what keys, what certain numbers here are going to stick out and pop out and be, oh, you should look at those. If you're playing in a major key, you don't want that. We'll do that in a follow-up video. I don't want to get that could go into 45 minutes of me babbling. I'm not doing that tonight. So nice, cool. So there's both a sub bass and give that question thing. Okay. Now this next one, I want to say I have the most respect for Jean-Michel Jarre. I'm not trying to lift anything from him. In fact, when I was a kid, I must have been maybe like 14, 15 years old. And I went to a record store in Boise, Idaho with my mom and dad. And a gentleman that sold stereo gear there said, hey, do you want to hear 100 watts of power? Pure power? We're like, sure, that'd be cool. So he brought us into a room where they have the speakers and the doors that close. And he played Oxygen from Jean-Michel Jarre. And if you haven't played Oxygen, the album, you must get that and listen to it. That's where the DNA of... That changed my life. I bought the record. I wore the record out. I bought the other ones when they came out. I get goosebumps thinking about it because of that. So I wanted to try to create that and study that, and here it is. So let's slow it down. cool. On the mod wheel, I wanted to give it like a B side, an alternative. And you hear this cool warping sound, right? Hear that? I'll do a video and we'll talk about that in the advanced tricks section. For there's going to be 5. I'll show you 5 of the tricks that I've learned and applied in this library that are really cool. So let's pull it apart. I will show you one trick right now. This bass, I spent an awful long time to figure out exactly how I wanted to do it. There's a sub. So if you don't want so much sub, just bring down layer B. Or bring it up if you want, like, oh my god, sub. And then A is the analog, that cutting through element. And I have it done with 2 segments. This is one of my tricks that we'll get more into in a future video. You can bring this up or down. Remember, when I make these libraries and make them available to you, these are 26, 27 years now of experience. And the whole idea is to give you the most advanced, ready for production sounds I can. But you need to watch and learn how to change these to customize to your music. I'm not there working on your record. And I used to work on records, and you'd sit there and listen to some singer, and they'd have guitars, and you'd figure out what you needed to do to your sounds to fit into the mix. So that's why these videos, I hope you take the whole value of this. This is to teach you not only the sounds and how they can work, but to change them to work for your music. So that's why I show you these little subtle things, because that's where you can get into making these your own instead of sounding like everybody else, right? So the bass does that. You can change the attack really easy. We'll talk about how I made that sound later. These are hidden. They're down soft in the mod wheel. So there's this bell sound, and I have an LFO changing the shape. If I mute this, there's no motion. This is what makes it just randomly, it's set to time, so it's kind of consistent, but it's picking up different pieces of stuff cutting through. So okay, so start soft and the mod wheel brings it louder. Part 5 is shards, because the original mix has this like sound that's just there doing this crazy thing. And this is kind of fun in that the arpeggiator is not set to perfect speed. It's a little bit early, so the whole thing just slows down over time. It's not keeping cycle with everybody else, because it's supposed to be just kind of on its own. Just sitting out there. And then up high is a pad. One of the very few non-BPM sounds in the library. It's not 100% BPM because you got a pad. And I want to point out one last thing. This is set to stack mode so that I can have a chord pad synth sound up here. And there's sounds, as you can see, that are playing all the way up here. As I play up the keyboard, like if I play C, a whole bunch of sounds don't play because the windowing limits them. So if you want to change it to play in the key of C minor, you might want to go to these parts and go like this to make the note range higher. But by doing this, this puts this sound over the top of the pad. So you might want to go to the pad, and you would change that to be MIDI channel something else. And you would turn off stack mode, because stack mode says ignore MIDI channels. So say turn off stack mode, set these all to MIDI channel 1. I'll do it for you so you see how it works. And by setting these all to MIDI channel 1, they all play like it's in stack mode, but now I can put this to MIDI channel 2. And I could, at this point, then that means I could take this sound and I could have it do the whole range of the keyboard. So I have this playing, And then if I was to go over here to this track, and instead of being made channel 1, I made it made channel 2, I'd have the whole keyboard for strings. So there's ways to use this depending on how flexible and what key you want to be in. Just be aware of that, okay? All right, moving on. She's a Dancer. This is another one inspired by a big hit that you will recognize. Need to speed it up a little bit. Let's get over here. Oh, did I lose my I'm in stack mode. I might have lost my MIDI. Oh, because I'm a MIDI channel 2. Ah. There they are. Okay. Brass. Okay. And the mod wheel takes it from being a 16th note to just the 8th notes. Okay, so there's tricks in there. I'll show you those when we do that video. I just want to keep moving really fast. So now this is all, the heart of this is this bass called Speed Kills. Victory Lap, and a toy Corvette. And then some chords. Oh, this is cool. I love the sound. And the mod wheel gives it body, so you can choose what year you want it. Isn't that cool? It's a good collaboration with Kid Anthem. So without the bass, you could go all sorts of places with this. Different bass lines. Once you add the bass, you're pretty much locked in. Sorry. Happy Multi. This is the last multi I did. I wasn't going to include this, and then it came out so cool. I was doing an experiment. Here, I'll show you my experiment to start with. I'm not going to explain how I did it. That's going to be in this future video. So, but I'll show you a little glimpse. It's a single oscillator playing chords. And the chords are changing. How in the heck? We'll cover it in the future. So, here's your rodeo. And here's a cool other trick we'll show later. Because this ARP, this is part 5, right? The ARP is just doing one thing, but it's going up and down in 3 octaves. How is it doing that? My gosh. Skippy, you're so tricky. But to get that snappy attack, we'll cover how to do that. That's not easy to get. Here's the Question Agency. Cool 90s techno. another trick. So I'm not talking tricks. We're gonna do that in another video. So there's a bass line. It's subtly changing over time. Hear it raising. Really cool. Question asked. It says something and then the delays take over. And the module makes it brighter. And more random and distorted and here's another one of their cool tricks. I believe this is using 2 oscillators and somehow the mod wheel it's cool, really, really cool whole chord shift. So we'll do a video covering this. Okay, get back to this page. And then on top of that, there's another pad sound that Kid Anthem did that I modified and collaborated with him on. It's shifting, it slowly fades out, gets dark. Okay? So that's a lot going on with only 4 parts, but they work so well because each has its job to do and doesn't really get in the way of the other one. This bass line, this is in a whole different frequency that doesn't cross that. This just warms the whole mid-range. And it's the high that's shifting down. So by doing careful production, you can find ways to get these to mix. So that's what it is. All right. Here's another one that I am really proud of. It has the largest arpeggiator pattern in length I have ever attempted. 32 measure arpeggiator pattern. So if we play F, that's the key of the song. Very famous Tangerine Dream track. And the bass line's right here. Here's step 9. There's Portamento. And the mod wheel. This gets super bright because it's a sample. It's a sample actually from Del Norte. It's the Lost Coast. It's the biggest, most awesome, buzzy, detuned unison I got out of the Virus TI2 when I was doing Del Norte. And I wanted that really dark rolling. It needed to be a really huge sound that was filtered down. And so Del Norte, I didn't have anything, I couldn't find anything in Omnisphere that comes close to this size of a detuned, just unison wash. Okay, so if we pull it apart, there's the riff. Part 2 is, it's called Train Memories because it just fits in these little holes. Four is a chord that's kind of broken up. Just 4 parts. Once again, 4 parts is all you needed. Wally Likes You. This is really fun. It could have been Disneyland thing too, but I love Thomas Newman and how there'll be these chords in his film scores that just have like this weird ear candy frequencies. He's playing different notes than you would expect, and they kind of stick out. So those are kind of what I was going for this. So. So let's pull it apart. This is another one. Guitar Wannabe is a patch. It's 2 oscillators, and I'm trying to do some really cool pitchy change things. And again, this is one of the things we'll cover in my tips and tricks video. And this is a really cool bass sound, and we'll cover how that, getting that ear candy on the delay. Here's Wally. And sometimes I be shy. It shows up. And it's gone. And then a chord on top. And the chord part, this is where I had all that cool stuck out there kind of weird notes. That ding, those. There's the bass and the chord just together. Cool, you know? And this opens everything up. Okay. And then the last multi, we actually did this live like a week or two ago. I think 2 weeks ago. We did most of it. The last 2 parts, there were 2 parts. I'll do it without the 2 parts. This is what we did in the YouTube video. You can go back and watch us make it. And there's this really cool love that bass sound. Then I required, and we got to do this cool pulsing on the ups. So it's kind of like it's poly rhythmic house. And then on top of this, what could you add to this? Well, I wanted more of a low end, so I added this. This more solid bottom. And then Dreams Come True. You actually don't hear it. So you move the mod wheel up. And there's the bells that I added. Isn't that cool? So cool. Anyway, that's the 13 multis, and that takes up most of the heart of the library. This is a really great one. I'm really happy with how this turned out. On top of that, there are some other ones. Baseless Accusation. And again, this is using the FM synthesis. We turn off the FM. It loses all that. So I was going for some harder kind of bass sounds in some of what we do here. So a couple others, let's see. I know there's one in the riffs that's really cool. Oh, this is funny. So there's an Omnisphere group on Facebook that I follow, and there's this production for a song that came out that these guys were like, how did they make this sound? And it's really cool, but basic, but had a cool, it's really hard to make that type of sound. And so I've still got 2 more patches I have to make for this library to be at 100 for the total of multis and patches. I said, I'll do this for one of them. And so I made an audio, put it up there for them to listen to. They're like, you nailed it. So, then I have the mod wheel. This is like the whole song is this sound here. But the mod wheel, you can add more to it. I love taking ideas as they are and then thinking of other things you can do and go places with. So all right, where's Paisio? So this is another one where one of the waveforms inside of Omnisphere, it's a single. Just had the right Settings. Just playing one note. That's the mod wheel up. Magic sauce is added. So that's the library. There's other stuff I could show. I could go through here and try to find other things that I haven't made in the multis, but explore. You'll find them. They're all really fun. It's really cool to plug these into your existing track and all of a sudden add something unexpected, takes it a whole different place. There's at least 2 other videos I'm going to do. One on arpeggiator adaption, how to get the arpeggiator to work in your song if when you call it up, because unlike OmniPulse 1, where everything was like playing the same note, all these things that say riff, riff means that it's like a loop. It's an audio loop. When you play this, it's not even starting on C. It's starting on the 3rd, on E. So you have to be aware of that. You have to be able to go over here and look and see what's going on. And so we'll do that type of thing, because all of these... You hear these, you heard them in the multis when I soloed them out. But what's so fun, just go to stack mode, turn it on. Now go to part 2 and call up a... And that doesn't work, so... Part 3. Go to the chords. And you hear, this is where this is what we'll be talking about in the future video. Hear how there's certain notes that aren't quite, there's major notes and major sevenths in the synthesizer, the thin synth, and then this chord has just flatted sevenths. So they're conflicting. So we'll talk about that in the future video. Riffs are fun to play with, but just be aware that they are locked into a specific mode. They're either major, minor, stuff like that. But that's the fun. That's the fun of having all these things to now you get to dissect them and put them into your tracks. So have fun. Thank you for your support. Remember, life is always about perspective. Enjoy the free wallpapers, enjoy the sounds, and we will see you soon. Okay? Next.